So in my last video, we discussed on what type of collateral one needs to collect and action one needs to undertake as a line manager who's expecting a new graduate to join their team in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Now in today's video, I'm going to be discussing what you need to do in preparing for your grad within the 2 and 1 week mark prior to them starting in your team or starting their stint in your team. So let's start with 2 weeks. What is important for you as a graduate line manager to have in place is what we call a discipline-specific technical learning journey. So you would have received the technical training program from either the early talent or maybe you call them the young talent coordinators, which again is the division within HR that oversees the graduate or the internship program. And now let's say, for example, there is no structured development program in place. Now, it is then your responsibility to actually create one whilst they're doing the graduate stint in your team. But before you even get to create one from scratch, during that handover session, ask the leaving line manager if they may have on hand some type of a development plan. Now, when you're drafting your graduate's technical learning journey, you need to consider these core fundamentals. The first being, what is the strategy in understanding the why? Why was this graduate program brought about? And what role as a line manager must you play to actually ensure its success? Secondly, what you want to understand is what are the entry-level positions within your organization that these graduates are meant to occupy after the program. Then what you're going to do is then you're going to focus on the technical capability, which is identifying the core technical competencies that the grad can learn whilst they're in your division, by using what we call the role profile again from the entry-level roles that the grad's supposed to occupy after the program. So let's make an example. Let's use an HR grad, right? Who is meant to occupy the role of an HR advisor. So looking at your current team, what are the skills and the work exposures you can actually provide this graduate to elevate as well as to add to their current technical skills toolbox in preparing them for that future role as an HR advisor. You get my gist? Next, you're going to then need to look at the soft skills that you can coach and mentor them in by using the information that you've received from the leaving line, focusing predominantly on the developmental gaps identified and the feedback or the performance feedback that has been received. You need to also consider the type of formal training, the workshops, the courses, the professional body registrations that you want your grad to actually receive. The next section that you want to include in the technical learning journey is what we call the people's section. Now, this actually looks at which professional networking opportunities or even the engagements you want your grad to be a part of. This could be internal SOEs, we call them Centers of Excellence engagements, or maybe even attending or participating in some shape or form in an exco, right? Secondly, which high-value colleagues or senior leadership you want to introduce to them. And then what you need to do is then you need to start thinking about which of your subordinates are better at mentoring this grad based obviously on the different types of technical skills that they actually possess. Now that you've actually created or you've received some type of a technical structured development plan or the technical learning journey, something else you need to be cognizant of is that your one-on-one session with your graduate needs to take place within the first week of them actually starting their stint. So you need to also start prepping what will you be discussing in that session as well. Secondly, you also want to ensure that you have created and completed also what we call the quarterly development plan. which means you have taken your technical learning journey and then you've broken it up into what we call quarters and have assigned mentors from your team whom the grad will be job shadowing and working under. I need you to then share the development plan with your subordinates and then allocate each a KPI, that being technical skills that they're going to be responsible for the graduate's development through that work exposure. Okay, now we are finally at the 1 week mark before your grad starts in your team. You have done all this hard work, you've laid the groundwork, and it's now time to create a welcoming environment for your graduate. How do you do this? By allocating someone in your team to be the graduate's onboarding buddy. Because let me tell you, having a buddy for the first month is going to help them acclimatize to the work environment and the team with much ease. So you're probably thinking, how does one even choose a person in the team to be the graduate's buddy? I would say it's preferable if they volunteer for this position. But if no one volunteers, then consider to choose a person who is the most friendliest, the most extroverted, a little bit more patient than most, who's going to make them feel right at home, but also be willing to show them the ropes. Now, that we are literally 1 week, right? You're panicking, but before your grad starts in your team, this is when I want you to actually do the work and reach out to your graduate together with your onboarding buddy to exchange contact details for logistical purposes for the first day of work. And I also want you to start putting in meetings into the graduate's diary and setting up even a coffee session to welcome them into the team on the morning of, right? Okay, I know I'm talking a lot, it's quite a mouthful, but that is every action you need to take in preparing to onboard your graduate from 2 to 1 week timeline before they actually start their stint. I promise you I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you found it useful, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Of course, click the bell notification so that you can be notified whenever I post new content. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video because it really speaks to an experience that I wish I had when I started, and you can really create such a meaningful impact and make the journey as easy and as enjoyable and as insightful as possible. You just follow these steps. And yet again, I am Olwethu M, and I am in the business of transforming graduate potential into professional